After what we went through trying to undo the irresponsible rhetoric of Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays, who issued a misleading interpretation of the law on when people can shoot law enforcement officers, I can't believe Governor Hobbs would issue more inaccurate legal advice. This time, it's about how illegal aliens and protesters can evade law enforcement. Governor Katie Hobbs' new Know Your Rights website is being marketed as a public service. Yes, a public service for illegal aliens and street agitators that will make it harder for our law enforcement officers to do their jobs and may even endanger them. Governor Hobbs' Know Your Law website is more political posturing than legal advice, and it is reckless posturing that omits critical law, making it dangerously misleading. You know what happened before. Attorney General Chris Mays issued legal guidance implying that individuals could lawfully shoot law enforcement officers when they could not positively identify them. Governor Hobbs publicly criticized that advice as inappropriate and urged AG Mays to retract it. The Attorney General never retracted it, and now Governor Hobbs fails to correct that bad advice on her own legal advice website. As a former police detective sergeant, I can tell you that remaining silent about an issue involving lethal force against law enforcement officers is both reckless and dangerous. The governor knew a correction was needed, yet she chose to remain silent. So what other legal advice does our governor offer or fail to offer in her video? Well, Governor Hobbs does not warn protesters that while speech like chanting, holding signs, and marching is protected, obstructing law enforcement is not. In her video introducing her website, Governor Hobbs does not hesitate to vilify immigration officers for doing their jobs and protecting themselves from obstructive demonstrators. Yet, she fails to warn protesters that physically interfering with arrests, resisting officers, or harassing police during official duties are serious crimes. And those are not the only problems with the governor's website. It advises illegal aliens that they have the right to remain silent, but fails to disclose that federal law requires all non-citizens over 18 years of age to carry their immigration documents at all times and present them to law enforcement on demand. The right to remain silent does not cancel that obligation. Following Hobbs' advice can lead to legal aliens being detained. The governor goes on to state that people may refuse entry to law enforcement officers without a court-issued warrant into their homes. But exigent circumstances can also lawfully justify warrantless entry, and numerous factors can trigger such circumstances. Following the governor's advice could lead people to unlawfully resist lawful entry by law enforcement officers, exposing them to arrest and even physical harm. Even more troubling, the governor omits a critical provision of Arizona law. Individuals may not resist arrest, even if they believe it is unlawful. By omitting this, the governor leaves residents dangerously misinformed and endangers officers and people alike. Does the governor tell would-be agitators that, unlike in Minneapolis, Arizona state and local law enforcement officers must cooperate with federal immigration enforcement officers? In other states, protesters saw local police officers stand down and refuse to assist immigration officers when they were attacked by mobs. Violent protesters may hope for the same outcome in Arizona, but in Arizona, the law requires cooperation with federal immigration officers to the fullest extent permitted by federal law. The governor never mentions this. The governor never says, "We are not Minneapolis." Then there is the most glaring legal omission of all, geography. Large portions of Arizona lie within 100 miles of the Mexican border, where Border Patrol officers have expanded authority to stop and question individuals. This is well-established federal law. So is this important detail on the governor's website? No. That omission raises an obvious question. Was Governor Hobbs' website written by people who do not understand the law in Arizona? Or was the governor's website just cut and pasted from Minnesota? I'll let you be the judge of that. Finally, after dispensing all this questionable legal advice, the governor hides, perhaps wisely, behind a sweeping disclaimer stating that her website is, quote unquote, not legal advice. If it is not legal advice, then what is it? Why issue it under the governor's authority on a state website? And why refuse to stand behind its accuracy? Does her legal disclaimer protect Arizona from lawsuits or increase the risk of lawsuits? Government information needs to clarify the law, not obscure it. When political messaging supplants legal accuracy, the consequences fall not on politicians, but on the citizens who rely on the government to tell the truth. Arizonans deserve better than a Know Your Rights website that leaves them legally exposed and physically vulnerable, and that also puts our federal, state, and local law enforcement officers' safety at risk. Not to mention prefacing the advice with a warning not to take it too seriously. We should expect more from our governor. Governor Hobbs, tear down that website.